Morning. Good morning. Good morning. How are you guys this morning? I'm so excited to be here and be with you again for day 3 of 10 steps to real food and a healthier you. So, I want to know how you're doing. How you're doing with your step 1 and step 2. How is the transition? Hey, Kristen. Oh, it's so good to see you. How is your transition to real food going? How are you doing with the challenge from day 1? Have you been able to switch from that refined white salt to the healthy, full of minerals, unrefined sea salt? How are you doing with your fats? Have you gotten rid of the margarine and the toxic oils, the canola oil and the soybean oil and the vegetable oil? I don't know how many vegetables you can squeeze and get oil out of. I don't know where they get that. But how are you doing switching, getting rid of those and getting butter, really good butter and olive oil and coconut oil? How is it going? How are you doing? Are you loving these challenges? Are they a little bit challenging? Let me know how you feel. Give me a comment, give me a heart emoji, give me a smiley face, something to let me know that you're with me, that you're getting what I'm telling you, that everything's making sense, and that you're excited about this transition from the standard American diet to a real foods diet. So I'm really excited about today's class. As I've said in every other class, you can have the very best digestion in the world. You can have the best digestive enzymes, you can have the best digestive function, you can have the best elimination pathways. But if you're not feeding your body nutrient dense food, you're going to be malnourished because your body is not going to have the nutrients that it needs. And that's just common sense. Like I keep saying, garbage in, garbage out. We understand that with the computer, but do we really understand that with our bodies? Our bodies are not going to be able to function properly and appropriately unless we're feeding them nutrient dense food. So today I want to talk a little bit about detoxification, the pathways of elimination in our body. And then I'm going to talk about the burden that we have, the toxic burden that we have on our body, and then what we can do to eliminate some of that burden so that our bodies can function the way they're supposed to function. Okay. So we've talked a little bit about digestion, not a lot because that's really a whole different class in itself. But through the digestive process, I mentioned before that the function of digestion is to take the food that we eat and break it down into molecules that are so small that our cells can absorb them. Okay, now think about that. We're breaking down food into molecules so tiny and small that they can be absorbed by the cells of our body. Okay, well, in the process of breaking down food, our body creates waste. Okay, and in the process of just living, the cells take in nutrients, but they also eliminate wastes. Okay, make sense? So just as part of living, our body is creating waste and toxins. Okay, and we need to have a way to eliminate those. Now, it's primarily done by the liver and the kidneys. Okay, the liver takes the toxins and it goes through these 2 steps, 2 phases of detoxifying. Hey, Cassie, good to see you. It goes through these 2 steps of detoxifying the blood, called phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification. Now, many things that are happening or that we're exposed to can be eliminated just through the phase 1. Okay, phase 1 detoxification. If you think of the detoxification process as like a 2-stage wash cycle. Okay, some things when you're washing, they can come out fine with just one wash. Okay, that's that phase 1 detoxification. But there are some things that need the pre-wash and they need a little bit deeper wash, and that's the phase 2. So there are some chemicals and toxins that we're exposed to that need both phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification processes. And phase 2 detoxification process is really kind of cool because it has these 6 conjugation pathways that take whatever toxin is broken down by the first phase, and then it's almost like pre-treated especially for that toxin. Now, and then whatever's released is then either eliminated from the body through the kidneys. It's eliminated through the body from the body through the colon or through the skin. The skin is actually the largest organ of elimination, and so the skin through sweat can eliminate some toxins, but also you might notice that sometimes when you get a breakout or you have eczema, that's actually an indication that your body's detoxing and trying to get rid of some toxins that it needs to get rid of quickly, okay? So yesterday we talked a little bit about bile and how it helps with the emulsification of fats. Well, bile is actually used also as a transport for the liver to get rid of toxins, and so it helps. It transports the toxins in the bile down through the colon so that it's eliminated as feces. Okay, so the body has these natural pathways of elimination and natural pathways of detoxification. Well, these detoxification pathways require nutrients that we get from our food in order to function properly. And the toxins that we get through our food they can just be a part of, as I mentioned, the normal digestive process and the normal cellular waste process in taking in nutrients and eliminating waste. Those are normal toxins that the body produces, okay? But the body's exposed to a lot of other toxins as well. There are toxins in the air that we breathe. I mean, we talk about, especially here in Utah, we talk about this brown soup that we because Utah or the Wasatch Front's kind of like in a bowl. And when in the wintertime, when we haven't had a lot of rain for a while or a lot of snow for a while, we get this brown soup over the top of the valley, which is, it's pollution. But even if you don't live in the Wasatch Front or in the valley, you're exposed to pollutions in the air all the time, from exhaust fumes. You're exposed to pollutions in the air from industrial waste, industrial pollution. We're exposed to toxins in our water. Fluoride and chlorine are both toxins that the body and the liver have to eliminate. They don't just, they're not used as nutrients. The body has to eliminate them. We're exposed to toxins on the food that we eat. There's pesticides that are sprayed on. There's herbicides that are sprayed on. There's actually, in the genetically modified foods, they'll coat it with a gene so that it's either producing its own pesticide or so that it can be resistant to all the herbicides that are sprayed on it. So that means they can spray more herbicides on the plant. So there's toxins in the food that we eat, in the water that we drink, in the air that we breathe, in the clothes that we wear. Unless we're wearing 100% cotton all the time, virgin cotton, raw cotton, there's toxins in our clothes, in the flame retardant things that they put on pajamas for kids. There's toxins in the furniture. There's toxins in the carpet. All of these are off-gassing toxins that then our body has to eliminate. And it does that through the liver. That's the function of the liver, to eliminate these toxins from our blood, okay? And then it uses those elimination pathways, the kidneys, the skin, and the colon, to get rid of the toxins. Well, the interesting thing is that some of these toxins create too much of a burden on the liver. Okay, some of them actually will speed up phase one, that first pre-wash, the phase one detoxification, and which puts an overburden on phase two. Some of them will actually slow down phase two. And so what happens then when we have this overburden of toxins in the body, the toxins are floating around in our blood, and it's creating other diseases, and it's creating problems with the body. In fact, there was an article that I read that said that most of the big name diseases have a component of toxic burden, like cancer has a component of toxic burden, Alzheimer's, ALS, all of those neurological disorders that they're unknown causes, all of them have a component of a toxic burden in the body, okay, toxic overload. So really, we want to be able to support our body in performing the proper functions not only the proper functions of detoxification, but the proper function of elimination. And we want to eliminate as much of that toxic burden on our body as possible. Okay. Now, some of the ways that we can do that, obviously, don't drink alcohol. Okay, if you drink alcohol, it's going to actually hamper the liver. It damages the liver. And if you drink alcohol and smoke cigarettes, that's a double whammy because they actually work together to create a larger toxic burden than if you just did one or the other. Okay, we can, but the easiest way and the way that I want to talk about today is we can eat organic. We can eat organic foods. So that's what today's step is going to be about. Eating organic foods so that we can eliminate some of the toxic burden on our bodies so that our bodies can function better, so that our bodies can heal the way they're supposed to and be nourished so that it can function properly. So let's talk a little bit about the difference between organic food and conventionally grown food. Now, some people have gotten into the habit, some publications will say organic or traditional. Well, to me, that's a bunch of baloney because traditionally food was not grown the way it is today. They didn't traditionally throw on a bunch of chemicals to fertilize it. They didn't traditionally throw on a bunch of herbicides. They went out there and pulled weeds. They didn't traditionally throw on a bunch of pesticides to eliminate pests. They used natural fertilizers like manure, okay? They pulled weeds and they pulled off insects and they rotated crops. They used companion planting. They did things to eliminate the pests that were in the garden rather than growing this monoculture of the whole thing because, I mean, let's face it, they were growing what they needed for their family to eat, right? And so they used traditional methods of growing, which were really organic methods. But the difference between organic methods or traditional methods and conventional methods are the things that I just mentioned. In conventional growing, they're going to use chemical fertilizers. Now, those chemical fertilizers do provide the soil with with the nutrients that they put in, but they also deplete the soil of other nutrients. Just like the body wants to maintain homeostasis, so does the soil and the earth. Okay, so when you're throwing in a bunch of one thing, you can actually create a deficiency in something else, in the body and in the soil. And that's what conventional fertilizers do. When they throw on chemical fertilizers, they're actually depleting other nutrients in the soil. With conventional farming, they'll cover them with pesticides and herbicides. And I remember reading this one article about the strawberry fields, and I think they were in California, but I might be wrong about where they were actually located. But for the strawberry fields, each year they covered these strawberry fields with 5 million pounds of this pesticide, which was a category 1 carcinogenic. Which is the worst, okay? And every year they do this, and the workers, the field workers, would go out in the field and they'd start to come down with these flu symptoms, right? They'd come down with headache and nausea, and they would come down with body aches. And they were told every year after they covered the field with this pesticide that, oh, the workers just have the flu. It's just the seasonal flu in June and July. And so they cover them with pesticides, they cover them with herbicides, and all of these end up being on the food that we eat. Okay. Now, the ones that they put on the soil, obviously all of them are sprayed on the soil, but the herbicides end up growing up as part of the plant. So it's not like you can just wash them off. They actually become a part of the plant that then goes into our bodies and we eat. Now, there's another category, and that's the genetically modified foods. Now, with the genetically modified foods, they actually put a gene in there so that the plant is resistant to herbicides, so they can spray more herbicides over it, or that the plant naturally creates, as part of the plant, it creates a pesticide. So it's producing its own pesticide to ward off the animals. Well, when we ingest that, we're ingesting that pesticide. Yet, when we eat organic foods, when we're eating organic foods, um, we don't have those problems. Now, they're organically, they can put on some natural pesticides, but typically organic farmers are using the traditional methods. They're using natural fertilizers, they'll use crop rotation, they'll use companion planting, they might use an oil of calendula, which is a natural pesticide. Okay, they might use that. But the plants that are grown organically don't have these toxins covering them. Okay, so when we eat them, we don't have to worry, we don't have to give our liver one more thing to process. So your challenge for today, for day 3, is to begin eating organic fruits and vegetables. Now let's talk about where you can get those organic fruits and vegetables. Well, of course, one of the ways that you can get organic fruits and vegetables is to raise your own. Not everyone can do that, but those of us who do have the space to grow our own should grow whatever we can, because then we know exactly what's going on with the soil that they're growing in. We know exactly what's put on them, and we know exactly the condition that they're grown in. Okay. Now, for those who do not have space in their yard to grow their own fruits and vegetables, there are cities and towns that actually let you rent space. We have a community garden right here in Centerville. There are lots of towns that have community gardens where you can rent a plot and you can go and grow your own fruits and vegetables. Primarily the annual ones. You can't, I mean, it doesn't really make sense to grow perennial ones in a spot that you may not have the next year. But each year you can rent a plot and you can grow your own fruits and vegetables. And there's some other benefits of growing your own food. There's studies that indicate that growing your own food and actually working in the garden, working in the yard, helps eliminate depression, helps with depression. Isn't that wonderful? And there are beneficial microbes in the soil that actually can provide friendly bacteria for our body to help with the body functions and processes. There's this really cool genome study that was done, and one of the things that was one of the surprising outtakes of this genome study was that the human body has so few genes compared to other organisms. For example, if I remember my numbers correctly, it was either this specific species of rice had either 4 or 5 times more genes than the human body has. And scientists were kind of baffled by that. And they've come to the conclusion that one of the reasons is because we're host to lots of different bacteria. Hopefully they're friendly bacteria, which actually aid us in functioning properly and normally and naturally. Well, when we're working in the soil, we gain access to some of those good, beneficial, friendly bacteria. Okay, so one way that we can eat organic food is to grow our own. Okay, another way that we can get organic food, obviously, is to buy it in the grocery store. You can go to Real Foods, you can go to Whole Foods, you can go to Natural Grocers. Trader Joe's has some. Most grocery stores have an organic section of fruits and vegetables. Excuse me. So you can go to the grocery store and you can get some fruits and vegetables that are grown organically. And I'm going to give you a list in the comments after this class. I'm going to give you a list of the foods that you buy in the grocery store, fruits and vegetables that should absolutely positively you should purchase them organically, because either they're one of the highest fruits and vegetables that are covered with pesticides and herbicides, they're the ones that are sprayed the most, or because they're genetically modified and so they're going to be either exposed to a lot or they're going to have that pesticide naturally built in. So I'm going to give you a list of those, and then I'm also going to give you a list of fruits and vegetables that if you have to, because let's face it, sometimes in the grocery store, sometimes, not always, organic fruits and vegetables can be more expensive. So I'm going to give you a list of fruits and vegetables that you absolutely should make sure that you're buying them organically, and some that, okay, if you can't really afford to, then you can get by with buying these conventionally grown rather than organically grown. Now, one of the ones that I'm going to tell you, if you can at all grow strawberries, grow strawberries. Super simple to grow, and they reproduce and multiply like crazy. But buying organic strawberries in a store, super expensive too. I'm just amazed at how expensive it is to purchase organic strawberries when they're so easy to grow. And they do multiply really easily. So you can start out with just a few plants, and in one season, the next year you'll probably have 4 times as many plants. So if you can grow your own strawberries, grow your own strawberries. Plus, they taste really well, really good too. Okay. So to get access to organic fruits and vegetables, you can grow your own. You can purchase some in the grocery store. You can go to farmers markets. And one of the things I love about farmers markets is you can get to know the farmer. You can get to know how they grow their plants. So not only are you purchasing organic plants and supporting local farmers, but you know exactly what they're doing. And I do know some farmers who grow to organic standards, but they're not certified organic, because that certification process of getting your farm certified as organic. Hey, Almadina, oh my gosh, so good to see you. But that process of getting your farm certified organic can be very lengthy and very expensive. So I do know some farmers who grow to organic standards or better, but they're not certified organic. And when you go to the farmers markets, you can get to know your farmer and know how they're growing their fruits and vegetables. Plus, you kind of get access and you can try some fruits and vegetables that maybe you haven't tried before. And so that's kind of fun too. So you can grow your own. You can purchase them from the grocery store. You can go to farmers markets. A really fun way to get organic fruits and vegetables is to join a CSA. CSA stands for Community Supported Agriculture, CSA. And I love CSAs. How they work is at the beginning of the season, you purchase a share from the farmer. Okay, so you buy a share, which might be a couple $100, and then that allows the farmer to get the seeds and the things that he needs to plant the vegetables for that and fruits for that particular season. And then all throughout the growing season, as fruits and vegetables become ready for harvest, you get a box full of fresh fruits and vegetables that were typically picked that day. They pick them that morning, and then they take them to the drop-off point that afternoon, and you pick them up. So you've got fruits and vegetables that were freshly picked that day. You're supporting a local farmer, and they're not being transported. So they're locally grown. And I talked before about how I really believe that the soil and the things that are in my community or in the region where I live are there to support me in the environment that I'm living in. And so I love buying local from farmers that I know, that I have a chance to meet and talk to, and find out how they're growing their foods. And the other neat thing about the CSA is that sometimes you're going to get surprises in there. I mean, they grow cucumbers and tomatoes and summer squash and winter squash and green beans and spinach and greens and things like that. But they might also be growing something that maybe you've never tried before. And so I love CSAs because I get that fresh produce locally grown from someone that's local, that I'm supporting a local farmer, but I also get to try some fruits and vegetables that maybe I've never tried before, that maybe I wouldn't have been courageous enough to try and purchase at the grocery store. So this is your challenge for today. Hopefully I've helped you understand about how the toxic burden on our body can affect our health, right? Hopefully I've helped you understand the detoxification process and how certain pesticides actually impede the detoxification process. And I'm going to throw in, if you know me, okay, so if you've watched any of these, you know that as I'm talking, I usually forget something, and so I throw it in at the end. So never stop listening early because you think that you've heard it all, because you haven't. If you have problems with your kidneys, If you have problems with constipation or even diarrhea, if you have skin rashes or eczema, I'm going to tell you that those are all indications that that detoxification pathway is not functioning properly. And so you're going to have a toxic burden on the body that you need to support. I want to tell you one other thing too that I forgot to mention earlier. Detoxification is a function of the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you're in chronic stress, then your detoxification process is being hampered. Now, I was watching another webinar that a friend of mine was doing, and she was quoting a Dr. Upledger, who said that 100 to 150 years ago, most people were living 80% of the time in a parasympathetic state. Parasympathetic state is that rest and digest state of the body. And 150 or 100 to 150 years ago, people spent 80% of their time in a parasympathetic state and 20% of their time in the sympathetic state. Sympathetic state is that fight or flight. They're stressed, okay? But now it's reversed. People are spending only 20% of their time in the parasympathetic state and 80% of their time in the sympathetic state. Well, detoxification is a process of the parasympathetic nervous system. Digestion is also a function of the parasympathetic nervous system. So if you're not sleeping well and if you're in constant stress, that's going to impede your body's ability to digest and to detoxify. And think about it. When you're in that fight or flight mode, this is what your body's thinking. Okay, do I need to put all of my energy into running away from whatever it is that's chasing me? Or do I need to put my body's energy into digesting food, detoxifying the blood, creating hormones? How many people have hormone imbalances? All of those functions are functions of the parasympathetic nervous system. So, if you're in constant stress, if your adrenals are shot, if you're always in sympathetic state, which means you're always in that fight or flight, if you have problems with constipation, if you have problems with diarrhea, if you have problems with your kidneys, if you have problems with skin rashes or eczema, those are all indications that your body's got some toxicity issues, okay, among other things. But today we're talking about detoxification and the importance of eliminating or reducing that toxic burden on the body. And one way that we can do that is by eating organic fruits and vegetables. Now, I'm going to encourage you to eat as much fruits and vegetables that are fresh as possible. And then if they're not fresh, to eat frozen, organic frozen fruits and vegetables, because they're going to be sitting on the shelf less time, and they're not going to be processed as much as if you buy them canned. Now, if you buy them fermented, traditionally fermented, that's even better, but that's a class for another day. So your challenge for today is to begin purchasing organic fruits and vegetables. Grow your own wherever you can or whatever you can. When farmers markets start coming around, visit a farmers market, buy local as much as you can, because then you've cut down on the transportation time, which means they're going to, as fruits and vegetables sit, they start to lose some of their nutrients. So if you buy local, they're going to be more nutrient dense. Okay, and plus, if they have to be transported, those exhaust fumes actually create air pollution too. Those are toxins, exhaust fumes. So when you're buying local, you've got food that's more nutrient dense. You've eliminated some of the toxic burden in our environment. Okay, you're supporting a local farmer. Grow your own wherever you can. In the grocery store, purchase organic, especially the list that I'm going to give you of these foods. Absolutely, please, 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 if you purchase them, please purchase them organically. Otherwise, they're going to be covered in pesticides and herbicides, or they're going to be grown with a pesticide. And if you can't afford to buy everything organic, and you can't grow everything, and the farmers markets don't have everything, Then there are some foods that are okay to purchase that have been grown conventionally because they're just not typically covered in the pesticides and the herbicides, and they're not are typically genetically modified. So if you're excited about today's challenge, give me some love. Let me know that you're listening. Let me know that that you understand the toxic burden that we're exposed to every single day, in the food that we eat, in the clothes that we wear, in the air that we breathe, in the water that we drink, in the furniture that we're sitting on, in the carpet that we're walking on. All of these contain toxins, and they all provide a toxic burden on the body. And one thing that we can do, one simple thing that we can do, is to purchase organic foods, grow what we can, eliminate some of that toxic burden on our body. And then, of course, there are some other things. By eliminating toxins in other places, growing plants can help eliminate toxins from the off-gassing of the carpet and the paint and furniture. So there are some other things that we can do too, and I'll probably put some of those in the comments just to help eliminate the toxic burden that we're exposed to, so that we can support those phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification pathways in the liver, and so that we can support the elimination pathways, the natural elimination pathways of our kidneys, our skin, and our colon. So I hope you guys are excited. I'm going to be back tomorrow at 10 o'clock with day 4. But so far our challenges have been, first of all, get rid of the white refined salt that's on your shelf and replace it with nutrient dense, full of really good minerals, unrefined sea salt. Secondly, get rid of the toxic fake fats that you find on your shelf and in your refrigerator, and replace them with natural, good, real food fats. Bring on the butter. Bring on the butter, the coconut oil, the olive oil, the avocados, the nuts, the seeds. Give me some really good food. And then your challenge for today is to begin purchasing organic. Grow what you can. Start thinking about where there's a little patch in your yard possibly that you can grow for sure some strawberries if you like strawberries, because those are one of the fruits that are sprayed the most with toxins. So especially strawberries, but anything else. I love the taste of fresh tomatoes. I'm going to share a story with you. Told you, never shut off early. I've always got something I want to add. I bought a tomato several years ago. I bought a tomato, and it wasn't organic, and it obviously it wasn't one that I'd raised myself. I bought a tomato, put it on the counter, because you don't want to refrigerate tomatoes because it loses their flavor until you've cut them if you don't use them all up. But you know, how does that happen? Usually when I slice a tomato, it's gone. But I bought a tomato, put it on my counter, and you know, throughout the course of whatever, somehow it got put behind one of the appliances on my counter. And I found it like 2 months later, and it looked like I just bought it. Now, when you buy conventional produce, they spray it with preservatives. It's covered in preservatives, and they do different things to preserve it. Maybe they even inject it. I don't know. But this tomato should not have lasted 2 months on my counter without rotting. Without rotting. I should have been able to smell it long before I found it. And yet, because it was grown conventionally, that tomato looked, after 2 months of sitting on my counter in warm, dark space, it looked as good as when I bought it. And it seriously scared me. I threw it away. And I thought, no more. If I'm buying tomatoes, they're going to be organic, because I'm not going to eat something that doesn't even break down. If it's not breaking down on my counter, how is it breaking down in my body? And what else is in that tomato that's going to harm my digestive system or my detoxification system or detoxification function? So enough of that. I think I'm done with all my stories. But your challenge for today is start buying organic. I'm going to put the list in the comments. I'm excited to see you tomorrow. I really want to know how you're doing. Please, if you have questions, put them in the comments. I'm going to give you sources so that you can find a CSA in your community. You can maybe find farmers market. There's a couple links that I'm going to share that give you access to that type of information for your community. And I'm super excited to hear how you're doing. Please let me know in the comments how you're doing. Have you found the real salt? I've actually been able to find real salt in the grocery store, and not just in the health food stores and like the Dick's markets. So, and I found real salt from Utah in Redmond Real Salt in the grocery store in Dowagiac when I went to visit my family. So I'm really looking forward to seeing you all tomorrow. I hope you're enjoying these 10 steps to real food and a healthier you. And I look forward to tomorrow's class and hearing how you guys are doing. And just let me know that you're listening. Give me a comment, give me some love, give me a heart emoji, give me something just so that I know that you guys are following along, that you're enjoying this series. And I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.